What is up, folks? Welcome back to another episode of Foul Ball Talk on all things Baltimore sports, brought to you by Great Eights Memorabilia in Parkville, Maryland, in conjunction with Driving to the Top Productions Podcast Network. I'm the host, Matt Trigger. With me, as always, is my co-host, Tim Malarkey. Tim, it has been a up and down past three series in Birdland.
Yes, Matt. It has Toronto, Cleveland, back to Toronto, then Tampa Bay. I don't know. Is the sky falling?
No, I don't think the sky is falling. Thank you, Stephanie, for the shirt comment, by the way. Uh, Trying to bring a little bit of a different pizzazz to the show. Sky's not falling. Am I starting to worry that there's some deep-seated issues that have not been addressed yet? Absolutely. One thing I want to talk about, Brandon Hyde. A lot of people are probably not going to like what I have to say about Brandon Hyde. I've been rather neutral with him this year because I do give him a lot of credit for the last couple of years. He coached us through some shitty seasons with some really bad baseball players on this team, and he is seeing this thing through in terms of the rebuild. And I like that Elias has a little bit of trust in him. Here's the but: he is atrocious handling our bullpen. He's atrocious handling our pitching staff. Period. We all enjoy the occasional wonky lineups that he throws out there. We sometimes question who he's playing where. You know, Elias has a lot to do with who gets called up and who doesn't get called up. Um, but the pitching staff, for as many guys as we have injured right now, and what we got to work with, when a guy like Albert Suarez is throwing absolute filth and he's through 6 2/3, no runners on, and you yank him, and then Perez comes in for the second straight night and just does what he does best, and that's start letting up runs and walks, and it's frustrating. We're doing all this, and we're still a 70-win baseball team in the beginning of August, which is absolutely astounding.
We were the first team to 70 wins. So before I say the sky is falling, I'll start with that. Now, did the majority of those 70 wins come when we had a healthy rotation and a healthy bullpen? Yes. Has it felt like the last month that this baseball team has not been what this baseball team should be and could be? Yes. Am I concerned? Yes, I am. I think it's going to be tough to see this team pitching in the postseason when you have Burns and Eflin as a 1-2, and then you don't really have much depth other than that. I mean, you have a Kramer and a Suarez as your 3-4. Rogers is in that mix as a 3-4, but your 3-4-5 is Kramer, Suarez, and Rogers, and that concerns me. And then you go to a bullpen where Sir Anthony has been a blessing in disguise right now. He seems to have found a role with the Orioles and has been doing what is asked of him and pleasant to watch. But then you fall back to who is your swing and miss, your high leverage situational guys, and it seems to be Cano, Perez. They're trying to get Soto to that possibility, and then still Kimbrel as your closer. And my trust factor is not high with that right there. It's just really not. We are the first to 70 wins. That's where we're at. We're still the best record in baseball. Cool. Am I concerned about how the next 2 months are going to pan out? Yes.
There's a lot to worry about. I don't know what more Sir Anthony Dominguez has to prove to be this closer, the closer for this ball team right now. He's better in high leverage situations than Yenier Cano. He's proving to be right now better in high leverage situations than Craig Kimbrel. Now, Kimbrel pitching, you know, we talk about it in the group chat. Zach brings it up, you bring it up. If Kimbrel goes more than 2 days between appearances, he's generally trash. And even if we're in a situation where Kimbrel doesn't need to pitch, if he hasn't thrown in a day or two, get him out there and just keep him loose. Even if it's a non-high leverage 7th inning or 8th inning. But Dominguez, that trade's worked out fantastically for us so far in the 2 weeks that he's been here. I know it's a very, very, very small sample size, Tim. I just I'm not ready to write off the other pitcher that we traded for, Soto, but I'm close. The dude's all for it now.
I think we've seen one good outing.
Yeah, we've seen one good outing. That was his first outing here. Um, I don't know if I trust that rotation without Grayson Rodriguez somewhere in that mix. Eflin has been a pleasant surprise. I will be truthful in saying that I was a little at first, but he has been a pleasant surprise. Eflin has gotten better each start that he's made for the Baltimore Orioles.
Eflin could be the talk of the steal of the deadline, in my personal opinion.
Pretty much, and
for the whole league.
He looked fantastic against his old team. I mean, I think he had a point to prove. Trading him for peanuts, so to speak. But he looks to be panning out for us. I think Rogers is going to get it together. Rogers might be that 4 because right now I'll put Suarez above Rogers. And I'm not going off recency bias. I'm going with more consistency. And even though Rogers has the stuff, he's still not back to throwing his full velocity yet, which kind of worries me.
No, and the Rogers thing, I mean, I think we saw some positive notes in his last start. Watching his post-game interviews, you can hear it in the guy's voice. He's trying to figure it out. He did go on record and say that the amount of analytics that have been shoved in his face since he's been in the Orioles bullpen and working with the pitching coaches is through the roof. He said that it's more information that he's been provided in his career. And I think that hopefully, knock on wood, that the reason they brought him in is because they see something there and that they're going to be able to kind of tweak him and work with those analytics and make him become, a productive number 3, because that's what he needs to be now with the Grayson going down. And Matt, we haven't talked since the Grayson injury and talk about dagger. I mean, this team, we made it through last year and, we were very lucky in that we seemed to avoid the injury bug. We avoided being snake bit. And this year, Matt, I mean, there isn't a better definition for being snake bit than what this team is, right now. I just for the viewers watching that, might be at home and not sitting there scrolling their phone and not realizing, what we have going on. Let me see if I can pull up a list. We can move on to the next topic, but I'll pull up the list.
We have an entire starting rotation of pitchers out right now.
We do.
John Means, Tyler Wells, Grayson Rodriguez.
I have the whole list. I had it prepared.
If you have those 3 plus Corbin Burns, and then you have Eflin and Rogers, I mean, you have a 6-man rotation for the postseason. It seems like, but it's been rough to say the least. These guys are really doing what they can, and Corbin, you can tell Corbin is just out there pitching like he knows he's got to be that anchor, and he doesn't look like he's like pressure filled or anything, but you can tell he takes it very seriously. He takes a lot of things to heart when he's on the mound, which is cool.
And
you need that on the team.
Here's the list just to make it sound. I feel like you don't realize it until it's in your face, and you're like, "Holy crap!" But we'll start with pitching, and then I can go to position players. But pitching wise, Grayson Rodriguez out with the lat. Kyle Bradish, Tommy John. John Means, Tommy John. Felix Bautista, Tommy John. Tyler Wells, Tommy John. Jacob Webb, elbow. Danny Coulombe, elbow. Jordan Westberg, hand. Jorge Mateo, elbow. Heston Kjerstad, concussion. I mean, every name I just named had a starting role on this team.
Every name.
Every single one of those names.
Yeah, and
that's 11 players. 11 players off of your starting roster that are out.
It's rough. It's rough to listen to that list. And Jordan Westberg's was a freak accident, hit by pitch type of situation. Mateo was trying to make a routine play, and him and Gunnar collided. And then
So I was kind of setting you up there for that, Matt. Just with those names that I led, this is my argument that it boils back to when I hear. I'll preface this by saying Hyde annoys me. Some of his bullpen decisions, all of that really bothers me. I just named 11 players that were ripped and stripped from his starting lineup, and he still was the first team in MLB to 70 wins.
Yeah. It's a lot of these wins lately have been in spite of his decisions.
This last month, maybe my stat there and saying that, that these are in spite of that, I would, question it. There's been a lot of decision making going on late in the game and with matchups and playing his game that definitely have me maybe cursing some fallacies at the TV.
I want to talk about 4 position players while I still have that thought process. And I know that you can agree with me. And I'm going to allude to the first one that Stephanie mentioned in the comments. Eloy Jimenez has been an absolute delight.
It's batting like 700 right now.
Yeah, he's getting limited at bats, obviously, but the dude looks happy. He looks healthy. He just went from one of the historically worst teams that will probably ever go down in the history of professional baseball to a perennial playoff contender. And that does a lot for you, no matter which way you slice it. Eloy has been a tremendous help for us off the bench and the occasional start. Colton Cowser has gotten relatively back on track after he started leading off. Anthony Santander is probably the Orioles MVP for 2024. And I was incredibly off about Jackson Holliday. Leading up to the trade deadline, a lot of our shows centered around what's wrong with him. The kid fixed his mechanics in the minors, and he has been hitting the cover off the ball. I mean, the dude's a good baseball player, and I'm glad we didn't move him. And I know that's severe 2020, hindsight, but right now I'm okay with the fact that we did not move this guy.
Dude is hitting absolute moonshots, Matt. He's 5 home runs in the last 11 games. He was on a streak of 4 home runs in 6 games, 5 in the last 11. I mean, it's literally night and day. When I say night and day, it's like something you've never seen before. It looked like the kid had never seen a major league pitch in his life to now it looks like he's been looking at major league pitching for 3 years. And I think what's funny to me is that the scouting report, what everyone said about him, what everyone thought about him, about his just natural power, his natural ability to swing the bat, me and you, and I will admit to it, both were very much so in question with that. And we didn't see it because he had been sent back down at the time. We were questioning it. It wasn't in our face. We're like, what happened? He came up, he went 0 for whatever it was. And I think he had 3 hits and however many at bats. Now you're seeing him come up and it looks the part. It looks like the scouting report. His home runs, he is like just naturally swinging through these balls where it looks like it's like a hot knife through butter. It's bizarre. It's ease and it's clean, and you see him go back into the dugout and he's smiling and he's laughing.
He's having fun.
Yes, he's smiling, laughing. He's taking rips from the dong bong with freaking Felix Batista and shit. Like it's incredible.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane how he comes up, we don't move him, and now, dare I say it, he might be the second most important Oriole after Gunnar Henderson.
He sneaking up there, and
Adley's starting to worry me.
He is. I saw a little spark in him last night. He had 3. He went 3 for 5, whatever it was, 2 doubles. Still need to see more. Need to see that continue for a couple weeks before I say that I'm not concerned. I'm also not gonna lie, a little concerned with Gunnar.
I think Gunnar's running out of steam.
You might not get your steak dinner.
And honestly, we talked about that pregame. Um, Gunner might not hit 40, but Santander might hit 50.
Yeah, another one today, 35.
And he has like that Prince Fielder-esque swing to where it looks like violent poetry.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's fun to watch. And like, you want to talk about looking happy? We were just talking about how Jackson looks happy in the dugout. There ain't nobody happier than Tony Taters on this team right now. He's loving every second of it. And I haven't seen a spark of happiness out of Gunner or Adley. Adley looks like he's hungover standing on the bullpen ledge. I mean, the dugout ledge. And Gunner, no matter if he strikes out, pops out, flies out, grounds out, he needs a new bat after every at bat because he's smashing it into the ground into a million pieces and you know, throwing his helmet and his glove. And like it, I heard it best on some, I think it was ESPN had somebody on, and I was listening to them talk, and it kind of like sparked my brain a little bit. Baseball is a game of failure. The more you think about it, it's literally a game about overcoming failure, and it's really hard. It's really hard, and it's natural for these guys to go through stints of being bad. And we might have not only been snake bit by injuries, Gunner and Adley are going through it right now.
Yes, they are. And it's amazing that we're still sitting at 70, like you said, especially at the last month, where it seems like Gunner and Adley have forgotten how to hit consistently. Here we are now talking about Santander. We're talking about Jackson Holiday, Eloy Jimenez, Colton Cowser. You know, we're getting contributions from different parts of the lineup. And that's one thing I'll say about this lineup is the fact that when guys are slumping, there's other guys to pick them up and take on some slack for the rest of the, for those guys that aren't, consistently producing.
Definitely.
I'm more so worried about Adley than I am Gunner because Adley's has been going on for a little bit longer.
It has. And he hasn't had – Gunner's had a couple ups and downs through it.
He has. Gunner's still a threat to go yard. Adley is right now, you don't know if you're going to get, like you said last night, a 3 for 5 outing or you're going to get an 0 for 4 or 2 strikeouts outing. And it's interesting because we're heading towards the end of the year and we're past, we're almost, through the dog days of summer, and he should be kind of getting the bat, a little bit more consistent, as we've gone on now. I mean, he's not seen anybody he hasn't already seen yet. We're at that point in the season. And I don't know if they just, the league has figured out how to pitch to Adley. But it worries me because do you want to see Adley be one of these fantastic, catchers assumed by the rest of the league and the rest of the fans across Major League Baseball, and then he ends up being a 230, 240 hitter? And it's like, are you really going to pay for that long term? Even though this town absolutely loves him, are you going to pay for a catcher that hits 240 and then hits 100 points higher when he's a DH?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough question, and what makes it even tougher, and a lot of people I think might not realize, is that all these guys are going to need to get paid around the same time. I mean, we're talking like within a 2-year window, 3-year window of each other. They're all coming to a head. I mean, Jordan, Adley, Gunner, it's all going to be around the same time. So Adley's going to be the first that needs to go first, and that's going to set the tone for what follows. And if you think that you're going to pay Gunner the, astronomical amount of money, and you want to keep a guy around like Westberg, and then you want to keep a guy around like Cowser in tow, and maybe you just signed Tony Taters, like,
I think what Tony Taters is going to get is going to be a lot of money.
I think so too.
And not to quote this pretentious asshole from the 2 to 6 show, but Tony could be looking at a 3-year, $60 million contract in the offseason.
And I honestly think that's what he's going to get. I really do.
And is Baltimore going to pay that?
See, that's where I struggle because I think Tony's going to play the market. He's not dumb. He does a lot for Venezuela. He sends a lot of money home. He's like very Ripken-esque down there. He runs his own youth baseball programs, got a stadium and stuff, and he's a very big name down there, and he spends a lot of money down there. He's got a good agent. To what Stephanie said, and even in the interviews, you know, he wants to be in Baltimore. He says he wants to finish his career here. He wants to be an Oriole for life.
So are you going to go to that man and ask him if he wants a $10 million a year contract when he can get 20 on the open market?
Right. Money talks. So
money does talk, because everything here's the problem that we have right now. In the immediacy of this season and the postseason and the all season of 2024 going into 25, I know we're looking down the line a little bit. I know it's a couple months away. You got Tony, who's up for a contract. You've got Corbin Burns, who is up for a contract. Are they going to pay both of them?
They could pay one of them and I'd be happy.
I know Burns is only an every fifth day player, but I'm paying Burns before I'm paying Santander.
If you're serious about making a run in the next 2-3 years, yeah.
I mean, you got to sign both, absolutely. I mean, but before the season, we could have probably gotten Santander for 3 years, $24 million if we would have hit him with that extension early on, and that would look like a steal right now. But like I've said it the last show, and asshole brought it up on air last week. Do you want a chance letting Santander walk, and then he's wearing pinstripes, hitting 50 home runs a year in the Bronx?
Yep.
Because I don't care how much money the Yankees got. I truly believe Soto's either going back to DC or he's going back to the West Coast. I don't see him staying with the Yankees.
And that Tony Taters, Jazz Chisholm, and Aaron Judge, that's something I don't want to play with.
Exactly.
That's JLC. That is the asshole in reference here. Jason Lockenfora. Matt, thought about this on the way home tonight. We actually went out and met a bunch of fellow Orioles Twitter people at Das Beer Hall. There's about 15, 20 of us there. It's a good time.
Some of the best pretzels in the world.
They do. Awesome pretzels. So many options. But we went out there today, met with a bunch of, big Orioles members in the community and stuff. It was a good time, but we were all talking. And last I checked, I don't know what it finished at after this game. I'm going to pivot to this question and just get your opinion here. Kobe Mayo, when we were talking about it earlier this afternoon, it was 0 for 15 with 10 strikeouts.
I think he needs a Jackson treatment.
It seems very familiar to what happened and what it was like to Jackson Holiday.
You're not doing us any good if you're not hitting the ball. And I think it's very telling that in the last week, the Orioles have added J.D. Davis and Gene Segura, who both play third base to a degree.
Also, side note, since you mentioned his name, J.D. Davis hit his second home run in Norfolk tonight.
And I understand we all wanted Mayo up here, but how long are you going to let him struggle?
And that's what's weird about it, and that's why I was kind of weirded by the whole Mayo call-up when it happened, was because at the time I said, say he does struggle, the time frame is strange. Like, where are you at now where you send him down? Is he done for the year if you send him back down?
I think that he's done until the roster expands to 28, maybe a month. I think you send him down for the last 3 weeks of August and revisit it. If he goes back down there and he starts mashing home runs in Norfolk again, it's clearly he's just seeing a different wavelength of pitching here. Nobody wants to be the pitcher that gives up the first bomb to Kobe Mayo just in the same breath that nobody wanted to be the first to give up that bomb to Jackson. So you're a highly touted prospect. You have a lot of pressure on you. You're a highly touted prospect where now the rebuild is over and you're on a 70-win ball team that's barreling towards at least 100 to 110 wins, somewhere in that range, based on
Right.
how the season's gone so far. So you have to produce. It's not like there's no pressure on you to come up and you're on the White Sox or the Marlins or the Athletics, where you can be shitty for a while and then you have a unencumbered amount of time to get yourself right. But you cannot be struggling like that in this lineup when we need people to produce. And I hate to say it, but I think he would have a little bit more leeway if Eloy Jimenez wasn't producing the way he is in his limited at bats.
Yeah.
So because they can do the same thing. They can be a right-handed bat off the bench. It can be a right-handed power bat at DH. So I know they play different positions, but you're 0 for 15.
It doesn't help your cause when Ramon Urias is hitting dingers either.
Right. And we always think that Ramon Urias is a DFA any day now candidate, and then he goes out and starts swinging the bat, and then he will go into another slump. I think that having Segura and JD Davis down in Norfolk really puts a lot of pressure on Mayo to start producing when he does indeed get in the lineup. He might need that reset.
No, and I agree with you there. The part that concerns me a little bit is that it was clear as Jackson climbed through the minors that Jackson had the ability to work on adjustments quickly and efficiently and change to those situations. And that's what we saw here. He came up, they sent him back down to Norfolk. He struggled for another week and a half, 2 weeks, and then he figured it out. Completely changed his approach, changed everything about him. He came back up, started mashing the ball. What concerns me is that the scouting report on Mayo is that not the same as Jackson Holliday. The Mayo scouting report says that he's going to struggle to hit major league pitching because of his swing. He has a giant uppercut. He's a big, tall, lanky guy with a big, bold swing, and it's going to be hard for him to catch up to major league pitching. Now, I would hope that Mayo has the same ability that Jackson does, where he can learn to adjust his approach, to tweak his approach, to change it to major league pitching. I am not hopeful to the fact that it would be as quick as what Jackson did. That's what concerns me about the time frame. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a huge Mayo guy. I've been a big Mayo guy forever. I think he definitely has what it takes, and he's going to be a great major league player. I don't think he has the ability to adjust as quickly as what we saw with Jackson. I mean, Jackson's adjustment from call up, send down to back in the majors, now hitting 5 dingers in the last 10 games, that's not done very often.
It's not done very often. And I'll say, I'm sorry, go ahead and finish.
And that's my concern, is that time-wise, they're playing with fire with what we have left in this year. And, like, I would like to see him go back down now, immediately. Give him that time so that when we do expand the roster for the playoffs, he's been down there cooking for a month, being able to work on things. I think that if you let it go another week, 2 weeks, his adjustment time is going to be shrunk, and then they're going to call him back up for the roster change where he really hasn't had time to fine-tune that, that approach change, and it's going to be the same story again.
I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I think that Mayo, his swing is very unconventional, and I'll shout out Zach. In our group chats, he said that there's a hole in his swing, and the way Zach breaks down tape is very attention to detail, and he's talked about the hole in Mayo's swing, and AAA and the MLB is a huge leap. We all know that.
Giant gap.
And he can go back down there and he can hit another 10 home runs before September if he was to go back down tomorrow. That's not doing us any good. But this is your prime time here to make this happen. Westberg is on the IL. You're letting Ramon Urias out hit you. You're a defensive liability, which has been shown in his limited starts. He is not a very good defender. If he doesn't learn how to play first base, he might be just a a power hitting DH.
I honestly think we might not have even seen Mayo yet if it wasn't for the Westberg and Mateo injury.
Yeah. If Westberg and Mateo are healthy, you don't see them, and I highly doubt that JD Davis or Segura is an Oriole.
Right.
In the system at all. We're making do with what we can. I like Mayo, but I think he needs to have a full all season where somebody fixes the hitch in his swing because it's getting exposed. You can't have that big uppercut when you got guys that are pumping in 96, 98 miles an hour.
And you're already a big boy with fucking 7-foot long arms.
Yeah, you gotta shorten that swing a bit. And Jackson went down, and the crazy thing is when Jackson went down, he didn't go down and continue to try to be what he was at the Oriole at the major league level. He went down there and fine tuned his swing. He fixed that hitch in his step and follow through, and he worked on his mechanics. And he's back up here hitting the ball like he never had that first terrible stretch with us. So
Man,
it's going to take him putting the ball on Utah Street. I mean, he's hitting and he's playing good defense too. And you can't ask for much more than that. I do worry that Mayo might need the rest of this year in AAA just to kind of work through some things. And it's unfortunate, but I think when Heston Kjerstad's cleared for activity to resume day-to-day baseball, I think it's when Mayo goes down.
Talk about a tough break, man. It seems like everything that Kjerstad catches himself with injury-wise is like the max effect of it. He's been hurt 3 times, and everything worst case scenario is what it boils down to for that guy. And it sucks because I think he does have the potential to be up here, and it's rough, man. It is definitely rough for Kjerstad right now. I really, 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 really hope that he gets out of this concussion situation and figures it out because, like I said, it's been nothing but a tough break for that guy, and he has the ability to be a great major league player. It's a tough break. It's sad, and I could sit here and go down the list of all of our injuries. I mean, we're skipping over Jordan Westberg. You know what I mean? Like it's an ugly state of the Orioles right now, Matt. Not to sugarcoat it at all. It is.
And it sounds crazy because you think we'd be sitting here with 45 or 50 wins talking about an ugly state, and here we are, 70 wins, and then we think the world's falling, so to speak. I don't like the outlook with the injuries on both the pitching staff and the starting 9. I do want to see us, I put a lot of this on Hyde, and I know we started the show with that, and I question if he is truly this guy that's going to get this team over the hump, because now a lot of people are going to use the injuries this year as an excuse if the Orioles don't make it to the World Series.
Yeah, they're going to say we had 12, 13 guys that were injured, 5 of them starting pitchers,
But my question is going to be, is Hyde the manager that gets us there?
It could go 2 ways because you're going to have people that say, Hyde didn't have a fair shot because of injuries. And then you're going to have the people that said, screw the injuries. Hyde was never that guy. He was there to get us through the rebuild. Look at his management late in games and look at his bullpen management and look at his wild lineups that he throws up with matchups and look at his pinch hitting calls. I am indifferent right now. I really am. I think the last 2 to 3 weeks have left a bad taste in my mouth. I think today really had me shaking my head. I mean, 2 outs, no one on base.
And you pull
them. I mean, I get it. There's probably that back thought, like I don't want to stretch my starters out right now because I don't have any more starters. I'm out.
But his pitch count wasn't even high.
I think it was he was plus 80, but I don't know what it was.
I mean, it's not like he was sitting in 98 pitches in 6 2/3. I mean, come on.
Yep. No, I mean, it's definitely questionable. It happened in Philadelphia. We saw what happened to their manager. He couldn't get him over the hump. 94 pitches is what he got yanked at, which, to be honest, is a lot for Suarez. We haven't seen that guy go out of the fifth and sixth inning much all year long. So
I know, but I mean, you're at 94. Even if you get to 100, that's you get through 7.
yeah,
You know,
Joe. Shout out to Joe. Thanks for tuning in, brother.
yeah, and it's crazy because what other options are really out there at this point? And I know there's a phase with other teams right now going with ex players as managers, and that's been the case for about a handful of years now. Um, Before I would ever look outside the organization, I would see if Buck Britton wants to come up to Baltimore. And I mean, he's done fantastic work with literally every prospect that's come through Norfolk, and
he has the connections with them, that's for sure.
He does have the connections with them. And I saw this out in the Twitterverse, revisiting Buck Showalter, and I do not want to go down that road again.
Good old Buck.
I think Buck is right where he needs to be. And that's sitting in somebody's studio making little hilarious quips.
I love me some Buck Showalter, though. Now, do I think I want to see him return to the Orioles dugout? No.
No, he needs a dugout full of veterans, and this is not it.
No. He's also a fuck analytics guy. Excuse my language, but yeah, he was a hardcore play it by the feeling kind of baseball manager, which is not what Mike Elias has built this team around.
Yeah, I'm putting a lot of this on Hyde right now, and just because the Orioles have been good for the last couple of years, and he's won Manager of the Year, he doesn't escape fallibility.
What do you think Orioles fans are going to do when he wins 70 games again? I mean, wins Manager of the Year again. He's already won 70 games. Sorry.
I mean, it's gonna be a split. You know, we have a very fickle fan base, especially now that we're good. We have a very fair weather fickle fan base. Even more so. I don't like the fact that he's probably going to win it again for the American League. It's unless we absolutely fall apart in the last 6 weeks, he's going to win it.
Yep.
And we're like limping there for him.
Yeah. I don't know, Matt. Like I said, these last 3 to 4 weeks have been rather deflating. I still just boil back to we have 70 wins. We're in first place. We're tied with the Yankees. We have been so lucky that it seems like the Orioles are on the bullpen phone to the Yankees every game. Like, hey, you guys losing tonight? Let's lose tonight. Hey, you guys winning tonight? Let's win tonight. Because without their basically mimicking us with wins and losses, we would not be in the situation we are right now. And I want our viewers, anyone tuning in right now, to keep an eye on Boston because
they're getting hot again.
Yeah, and they are not far off our tail. Keep an eye on Boston. Don't count them out.
I like Joe until this comment.
Yeah, I mean, he said it at the same time I did. Yep, and that's if you've been watching baseball right now, you see it. Boston's hot, and they weren't supposed to be anything, and I think that they are carrying that same kind of thing that the Orioles carried, where we weren't supposed to be good yet, and then we went out there and won 100 games.
Yeah, and to address Mark's comment, is Grayson out until the end of September? Mike didn't really say yesterday whether or not he was going to be out that long. It's a lat. The last time he had this lat issue, he missed almost 2 months.
Yep.
So
that's what I thought that presser yesterday was going to be all doom and gloom. Kind of interesting that it was kind of just like what we all kind of already knew situation. I don't like that Jacob Webb is the one with the elbow injury when he seems to be Hyde's most trustworthy bullpen post. I mean, Hyde has gone to Webb to hold down the fort, to be that solid post out of the bullpen numerous times this year. It seems like, Hyde gets his little niches, his little favorites, and Webb was that guy. So it's tough. I'd like to see Sir Anthony keep doing what he's doing. I'd like to see Perez come out of his funk of his last 2 games, because other than the last 2 games, Perez has been solid for us. And that's saying a lot for me, because, I was not the biggest Perez guy. And then Cano has been still a little bit worrisome to me. He's had his moments, but I don't know.
I'm gonna say this about Cano. When he was pitching in front of Batista, a lot of his inconsistencies were hidden very well.
Yep. Because you had Batista coming in throwing 100 miles an hour. You can leave one on. It is to back it up. Binge podcast. It actually is. I think it was 15 total injuries, 11 total on the IL right now, 5 pitchers, 4 Tommy Johns, 2 elbows, and we are the first team in baseball to 70 wins. And I'll say it like I said it before. I know the majority of those 70 wins came, pre the last 2 months of Orioles baseball that we've seen right now, so you can't count that out, but it's still a fact. We're still swinging. We're like that boxer that's just not tapping out right now, and maybe that's what it takes. If Gunnar can figure it out and come around and turn that corner, if Adley can get his head out of the dirt right now and turn that corner, if our offense can score 5 runs a game, we're all right.
I still blame Adley's girlfriend for breaking up with him.
Well, apparently they're back together now.
Because he was dog shit after they broke up.
Well, yeah. Well, now all is happy. We're back to making TikToks and Instagram posts. So,
well, now he needs to stop that shit too. Just stop doing what you're doing, Adley. Do the opposite. Yeah.
Joe just brought it up in the chat. Danny Coulomb. I haven't put all my marbles in that basket yet. I was a big Danny guy. As Matt has said to me in our group chat and on this podcast before, it's tough to make a decision on having Danny be our knight in shining armor when the guy had literal bone chips taken out of his arm. So, that's still a tough pill to swallow right now. I would love for him to be that guy. But I mean, like I've said in casual conversations, I've said it in the Discords, I've said it on Twitter, it doesn't matter. It's if the Orioles can hit 5 runs a game, if we can put up 5 runs, we're still in this. There's no tapping out. Zach Pigtown Sports has a good stat going. I don't know I haven't seen the last updated, but we haven't lost 10 games yet where we've scored 5 runs. If we've scored 5 runs or more, we're not even at 10 losses yet. We've won all of them except I think it was 7 or 6 last time I've looked. I'll be able to find it and pull it up.
For Joe's last comment, Bert Smith, he's been a pleasant surprise. We both got on air the day after we got him, and we were like, "Who is this guy?
Who the fuck is this guy?"
Yeah,
we're 51-7 when we score 5 or more ones. 51-7,
which is insane.
Yep.
And to back it up, Binge Podcast on joining late. What do we do with Kimbrel? We touched on that a little bit earlier, Binge, but we talked about the fact that he can't go 4 days in between appearances. He's pretty much garbage after he goes more than 2 days. So even if it's not a high leverage situation, getting him in there in like the 7th or the 8th, just to kind of keep him loose, might be a alternative solution to his woes. And I think that Dominguez probably needs to do the 9th inning from here on out. He's been more reliable in high leverage as opposed to Kimbrel. And I know that's crazy to say because Kimbrel is the 4th. He's 4th in saves all time, but he is literally falling apart at the seams more times than not this year. So that's where I'm at with that.
He is. It's those bigger breaks in between. Today was another example. He's had 4 games rest, and you saw what happened out there.
I don't like it. He needs to pitch every other day.
He does.
It doesn't have to be a win situation or a save situation. Even if we're losing, get him out there.
Throw him out there in the 8th. I don't care. I really don't. We have some interesting series coming up. One team we've already talked about. I mean, we got 2 games at home versus Washington. We got 3 games at New York against the Mets, not the Yankees. 3 games at the Mets. Mets have been hot as of late. In between the Nats and the Mets series, we have 4 games against Boston. So we go 2 games Washington, 4 games Boston, 3 games at New York Mets.
With those series coming up, I think it's imperative that you got to sweep the Nationals. I know that they're a scrappy team. You got to sweep Washington, and you got to take at least 2 of 3 from the Mets. I know that they're hot right now. They've talked about that a little bit on the radio. I get that, but they're nowhere near as good as we are. Boston is one of those situations where it might be a Cleveland-esque kind of series where we split, but taking 3 of 4 from Boston would be huge.
And don't forget, they're out for blood because we swept them this year.
Yeah.
And when they're on our ass in the division, it's going to be a series. People think like, go out there and win 3 of 4. Yes, that's what we want. That's going to be a nitty-gritty series for sure. No doubts about it. They're on our ass. It's a divisional series. They're out for blood. We're not playing our best baseball. They're playing the hottest baseball that they've played all year.
They're playing the best baseball they've played all year. And I while we're on the subject of Boston, I went on to one of these Facebook baseball groups that I'm a part of, and I had a little bit of free time
Those are dark places, Matt. Be careful.
Oh, well, it was like a David Ortiz love fest, and I just made a simple comment, and I said that the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame is a joke if Ortiz is in and Bonds isn't, because they both literally did the same thing, and you would have thought that I had murdered somebody's cat.
Oh,
yeah. It's a love fest for Ortiz, and I think he was one of the biggest assholes of our time that played baseball personally. He was definitely on steroids. There's no other way to say that. He was definitely taking something to, I mean, if you look at his numbers between Minnesota and Boston, it's insane for as long as he did it, but I digress.
No, well, while you're on this, I just want to run something by you, sneak it in there real quick. Let me see if I can find it. Okay. So I was asked, what player are you most mad about that your favorite team let him get away and didn't re-sign him? So I was thinking, current in my lifetime, not history books, nothing like that. And the name that came to mind for me, obviously, was Nelson Cruz. So I did a little bit of a deep dive. He hit 40 bombs for us, right? That Orioles year, him and Chris Davis, the home run kings together for the Orioles. He hit 40 home runs. In the years following, this is 5 years following when he left the Orioles. So he hit 40 for us. Year 1 out of the Orioles, he hit 44 home runs with a .302 batting average.
For the Mariners, right?
Yep. Year 2, he hit 43 home runs, .287 batting average. Year 3, he hit 39 home runs, .288 batting average, but 119 RBIs. Year 4, he hit 37 home runs, .256 batting average. And year 5, he hit 41 with a .311 batting average.
And we signed Chris Davis.
But that jolt, if you look at that 6-year span and then the fall off to that 6th year, he hit like 12 home runs. Is there any question in his accountability there?
No, because he was hitting home runs before he got here. I think Mother Time caught up to him. I mean, he might have been using for all we know. I mean, I don't know why they're banned anyway. That'd make the sports a whole lot more fun. Just let these dudes roid out and it's like make that shit gladiator sport. Like, I don't care.
My unpopular opinion in sports groups and trivia and shit like that is that I always say unpopular opinion, steroids saved baseball, but
they did, because after the lockout in '94, it left a bad taste in a lot of fans' mouths. Then you have the 97 and 98 home run chases with McGuire and Sosa, and then Bonds in the early part of the century, and Griffey and all those guys. They saved baseball. They absolutely did. Would we be talking about baseball right now the same way if we didn't have those chase to 60, the chase to 63, the chase to 70, and so on and so forth. And we witnessed probably one of the greatest pure hitters in our generation doing it in San Francisco. I don't care what anybody says. Steroids might make you stronger and they might help you heal faster, but it doesn't help your hand-eye coordination.
You still got to hit the ball.
You still got to hit the ball. Bonds is the greatest hitter of our generation, and if it's not Bonds, it's Tony Gwynn. And
then Griffey.
Griffey, and I mean Griffey got hurt way too many times for him to really I don't think he was a steroid user because he never struck me as the guy.
When I was talking about those series we got coming up, Matt, I got a little sidetracked.
Well, you've also been getting Luna off screen for the last 40 minutes.
Oh yeah, she's on one. Because I was away for 6 hours today, so she's trying to get all of her daddy loving in right now. But the Nationals, Boston, and the Mets, right? What scares me about those is coming home. The next two series after that little Boston, New York Mets, two hot teams, we have 4-game series against Houston and then a 3-game series against the Dodgers.
Oof.
Yeah. Oof. So we have some very competitive, and then it falls off drastically after Houston and LA. Then we go Colorado Rockies and the White Sox. So, but I mean, the Boston into New York Mets into Houston into the Dodgers. We have 4 really competitive, really good series coming up. I think that these next 4 series are going to answer a lot of questions about what kind of team this Orioles team is going to be for the remainder of the year.
We could be sitting at 81 wins at the end of these 4 series, 80 or 78 to 81 wins, or we could be at like 73, 74 wins, and we're talking about a whole different heap of trouble.
Yep, and as Pigtown just said, which made me literally laugh out loud, is that we'll go 5-2 against the Astros and the Dodgers, and we'll go 2-5 against the Rockies and the White Sox.
Well, I mean, what does Stephanie say? I'm gonna leap off the warehouse.
Yeah, jump off the warehouse.
Yeah. And for Joe, the YouTube channel is Driving to the Top Productions. We're part of a podcasting network that features a bunch of different teams and podcast content creators for multiple different sports and all that. But yeah, that's where you can find us. All of our episodes are on there.
Twitter, Facebook, everything.
Fun fact for I know Joe is a relatively new viewer, I guess.
Joe's famous in the Ryan Ripken realm, by the way. That's
yeah. And this was supposed to be like a one-time thing with me and Tim. I was gonna give him like a one-time like fan come on the show and talk Orioles baseball. And that night we had like 500 live viewers. And I was like, yeah, Tim's not going anywhere, so I've kept Tim around. So, that's a little fun fact. He's been the greatest of co-hosts, and he is been a blessing to the show because his Orioles knowledge is the way he nerds out about the Orioles. I nerd out about the Ravens, but we can't talk about the Ravens on this show because his wife yells at me. So I'd rather not get yelled at.
A little bit of a gloomy day out there at practice field. For
yeah, I don't want to talk about that because that's going to be another 15, 20-minute spiel. I'm going to save that for my midweek Ravens show. Yeah, that's – yeah.
All right, Matt. So
yeah,
Washington, Boston, New York. 2-game, 4-game, 3-game.
Sweep Washington. 3 of 4 from Boston. 2 of 3 from New York.
Okay.
That's where I'm at. So 2, 3, 2, 7 wins.
Mm-hmm.
7 what about you?
And 2 is what you're saying. I like it. I hope that that's the case. I think we split the series against Washington. I think we split the series against Boston. I think we win 2 of 3 against New York. So 5 of 9, 5-4 is what I'll take it at. But
I'm gonna be optimistic on this one. I'm usually a little bit cautious in my predictions. But
we're usually reversed there with our predictions.
I think that we see the boys get back on track with these series, because rolling through these 3 series and then going right into Houston and the Dodgers.
Me and Pigtown with identical predictions there. I like it.
Yeah, you and Zach.
The puppy's going nuts. That's the cat patting at the puppy. That's the puppy's name is Adley for everyone viewing right now. So Adley's got a lot of aggression after the couple weeks of baseball that she's had. So
All right, Joe, you're in good graces again.
39-1 the rest of the way. I'll take it. Matt, I got you with the guess that Oriole though to finish it off.
I know you didn't get me on the last one. I'm already expecting this. I'm probably going to get it wrong.
This one should be easy. I've been waiting to use this Oriole as the guess the Oriole all season long, and now I have my opportunity. So I'm just going to let you guess it because I'm happy to put this on the screen. Spray chart since July 31st. There you go.
Is that Jackson?
That's Jackson Holiday.
I just looked at all the home runs in right field, and I'm like, yeah, especially the deep one, all
that
the way
one?
over. Yeah.
Oh man,
the Utah bomb.
That's the Utah bomb. But like this one, come on now. That was almost one, and he had the one off the foul pole at like 3:30. So, dude could have 7 home runs right now. But let's just all in all with this doom and gloom right now, and state of the Orioles not being as sunshine and rainbows as we want it to be. At least we know that Jackson Holiday is that guy.
Yeah, that makes me happy. Now, if either Adley or Gunnar can fix their shit, I'm cool, because that puts us in a very good spot.
It does.
Very, very good spot. I hope Kowser, continues his hot streak. I'm sorry if anybody can hear me, but I think my daughter is tap dancing in her new mini heels above me. So,
you got your daughter tap dancing. I got animals running around causing a ruckus right now. Yeah. It is what it is.
But yeah. So it's This is going to be one of those situations where we got to get through this next lump. 7-2.
You looking up at the ceiling when that noise is happening is the greatest thing ever. It's like oh man. 7-2. I would love that. I think 5-4 was my prediction, so it is what it is. And then on to Houston and LA, Matt. We got some. We'll recoup here in 2 weeks, and I think we might have a lot to talk about. And Orioles are winning the World Series, or better luck next year.
Just looking at the outlook for the next couple series. We talked about the Nationals and all that. That's Tuesday, Wednesday. Red Sox are Thursday through Sunday. The Mets are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So yeah, we'll be back August 21st, same time.
Yep.
That's not this coming Wednesday, but next Wednesday.
Let's do it.
Yeah, just to keep on the consistency, because or we can come back in between the Red Sox and Orioles series on the 18th. So we'll be back in the next week to 10 days.
Cool.
And we'll go from there. Thank you, everybody, for the engagement and tuning in. It's been great catching up after a hellish week of Orioles baseball.
Yeah.
In the next couple of days, either tomorrow or Wednesday, I will be interviewing 2024 Mount St. Joe Hall of Fame inductee Johnny Rodriguez, former lacrosse player. He went pro, played in Atlanta. He's currently coaching over in California, was recently diagnosed with ALS, and he has an initiative, Athletes versus ALS. He's been making the rounds with all the professional California baseball teams and most recently the San Francisco 49ers. So I'm going to sit down with J-Rod and we're going to talk about everything he's got going on in his life, have a midweek Ravens show, and that's about it. Tim, let everybody know, if they don't already know, where they can find you on socials.
First, I want to say I'm really excited for the J-Rod show. I played ball with J-Rod at St. Joe. He's a hell of a goalie. He's a really great guy, really good family guy, and he's got quite the story to tell about what he's going through right now. And he's doing what a lot of us, might not be able to handle and do when we're put in these situations. And he's actually trying to reach others and spread, the knowledge and betterment of the disease that he's battling right now. So excited for that show. I'm glad you got him on. But to lighten things up, you want to see some great Oriole memes, T_Malarkey on Twitter, causing a menace, like poking fun at people. There's some funny stuff on there. So go check it out. You'll find me.
And if you want to see diabolical behavior, follow his wife.
Yeah, she is the menace. She's quite the menace.
How many people at your Twitter gathering have been in Twitter jail besides her?
She might be the only one. It's
absolutely insane. I
she
stay
likes
away
coming
from
off the top ropes, dropping them.
Yeah, she's definitely with the Macho Man stuff. But yeah, let's wrap this show up before she, comes in screen and yells at me.
I think she's holding down 2 animals right now consecutively. She is.
Sounds good, man. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Make sure you tune in for the interview either tomorrow or Wednesday. We'll have a first Ravens update of the preseason. Been in baseball mode, so I haven't really covered the Ravens a whole lot. That'll do it, folks.